Alright everyone, it's Fatboy time. Chrome finishes, Milwaukee 114, dual bending valve front suspension and rear monoshock, Lakester solid disc wheels, 160 front, 240 in the back. Seat height is a comfortable 26, so yeah, I can definitely flat foot this bike, even though it's a little bit wider. You got the 5-gallon tank on this bad boy. It is a 700 pounder, so it's a big boy. Not as big as the baggers, but definitely a big boy. Today is my first time riding a Fatboy. Oh, you got nice little floorboards. Not little, pretty big. There's my man Tim riding the Heritage Softail. It's got the forward-ish controls. Like, this for me is comfortable. Alright, let me find neutral. Is that neutral? Give me neutral. Give me neutral. Really hard to find neutral. There we go. Jesus. So far, the ergonomics on this bike is right up my alley. You got these low bars here with, I think, maybe like a 2-inch rise, but it's angled towards you, which makes reaching the controls very easy. You got these nice floorboards for comfort. But so far, I'm loving this. You got this nice large analog gauge in front of you. It is a 5-gallon fuel tank, which is like my Lowrider S. So all in all, pretty good. Alright, so the turns on this is a little bit more leisurely. It's not as aggressive as the other Softails that I've been on because of these wide handlebars, but comfort-wise, it's pretty good.
Ooh, so good.
It's a big boy. Alright, let's get going. I'm loving the low seat height on this because I can flat foot it. So the claim to fame for this bike is that it was ridden by Arnold Schwarzenegger on Terminator 2. One of my favorite movies of all time. Alright, so let's talk about the ergonomics. It's got like a Ford-esque control setup, which feels really comfortable with these floorboards. You can pretty much put your feet anywhere you want. It's got the 5-gallon tank, which has great range. I think it does about 40 miles per gallon, most likely between 35 and 40, I'm guessing. It's got these wide handlebars, which very, very comfortable. I'm actually surprised at how comfortable these lower bars tend to be. Although for turning and like cornering, it's probably not the greatest, but if you're just cruising around town, it's great. My man Tim up here to my left is on a Heritage Softail. Surprisingly fits him pretty well. So the first thing that I noticed coming out of that parking lot is just with these fatter front wheels, the additional weight and these wide handlebars, it does make turning just a little bit laborious, I would say. The baggers actually felt smoother than the Fatboy to me in terms of turning and cornering and all that jazz. But just going straight, this bike feels very, very nice. The shifter feels nice and has a good clunk. A Harley trait. Oh, this is tough. Yeah. Alright, let's see. Very nice, very nice. It's funny, I'm trying to do these little mini S's and the bike just wants to keep you straight up. Just wants to be upright and straight. It's kind of a funny thing. You don't see a whole lot of Fatboys out there. I noticed that the Fatboys aren't as popular as some of the other models. At least I don't see them on the road as much. My guess is that, you know, it's got a lot of chrome. It's not quite a bagger, but it wants to be a little bit. That would be my guess. But man, this bike, I'm actually surprisingly liking it a lot more than I thought I would. I'm moving around a little bit on the seat, and again, the stock seating on this, very nice, very comfortable. It's gonna be hard to get back onto my 48 after this. Okay, so that was actually more difficult than I thought. Cruising in a straight line, this is comfortable. To me, I feel like this is a really good blend of somebody who wants a bike that can eat up miles comfortably, you know, but doesn't want to go full bagger. So I like that. So it's been a few days since the demo ride, and I've had some time to collect my thoughts on this bike. I'll just say right off the bat, I was really surprised by the Fatboy. It's one of those Harleys that I didn't think I'd like, but when I hopped on one, I immediately got the appeal. Although by and large, I'm not a huge fan of the chrome, to me, I think it works with the Fatboy, with the old school charm. With the solid Lakester wheels and the fat tires and the unique headlight bezel, this bike just stands out amongst the crowd and has a very muscular stance. It's coupled with that Milwaukee 114 engine, which puts out about 120 foot-pounds of torque, and definitely had enough power to offset the almost 700-pound frame that the Fatboy carries. There's definitely enough torque throughout all of the power bands to satisfy most thrill-seeking cruisers. And also, I never got overwhelmed by the power either, and it's possible that the wide tires really helped keep the bike stable with plenty of traction on the road. And although it has somewhat of an intimidating and flashy composure, the bike itself is very inviting. The stock seat was very plush, ready for long rides, and the forward controls with the floorboards make you really feel at ease. The stock riding position on this Fatboy is by far one of the most comfortable riding positions I've encountered on a Softail, with very natural bends at the elbows and the knees. I honestly felt like I could have ridden this bike all day with no discomfort. Going over some bumps, don't really feel anything. Going over these bumps, don't feel anything. Vibrations are fairly minimal on this guy. I'm liking it. The 5-gallon tank, it's possible to ride for hours without having to hit up a nearby gas station. It was an extremely pleasant experience overall. The Softail suspension felt great, and you might be able to tell in the videos that I was purposely going over bumps and cracks in the road, but I could hardly feel them. To me, it rivaled the comfort of the baggers without having that bagger price tag. The combination of the fat tires, the Softail suspension, and the plush seat really absorbed all the imperfections of the road, only adding to the overall comfort and the enjoyment of the ride for me. Like I mentioned, the only downside of this bike is the degree of difficulty in the corners. But let's face it, with a name like Fatboy, you're not going to be dragging knees on this thing. But that's okay. I feel like the Fatboy knows its role, and its role is to give you ultimate comfort with enough power to cruise a straight highway for miles on end. I'm genuinely curious if this Fatboy could be a good roadworthy bike. I need to add a few things like a viable windscreen and some bags to be able to call the Fatboy a roadworthy bike, but it's certainly capable. So, who's this bike for? I think it's for people that want to reconnect with Harley's heritage. The classic looking chrome with the Lakester wheels just screams a modern take on a vintage classic, and I think Harley did a great job on this. For those that are looking to prioritize comfort but don't necessarily log thousands of miles over a weekend, might find an answer in the Fatboy. I'll be honest, the Fatboy really has me thinking. I thought in order to get comfort right out of the gate, you'd have to go bagger, but that certainly wasn't the case for me with the Fatboy. It really has me thinking whether or not the Fatboy could be a good in-between from my current lowrider S to a bagger. Alright, that's where I'm going to leave this review. I hope you all found it helpful, and if you're even slightly interested in this Fatboy, I'd encourage you to test one out. And if you do, let me know what you think. Alright, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, peace. Now obviously this, with this bike you don't get a lot of the touring amenities that you might want, such as, radio and GPS and all of that. But you make some sacrifices, I suppose, right? I thought the ability to not lean over too much was a negative, but in some instances it's actually kind of a positive. Guys, I've thoroughly enjoyed this bike. Alright, well that ends the review for today, or the first impression ride for today. Thank you guys for joining me. Until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.